My name is Michael and welcome to the second tutorial of the GTKBin object or widget. In the last video I was asking you if you find a way or if you know how to find available properties for the GTK or for the GTKBin child properties. And if you came here and you didn't leave a message, this means you didn't find out, or you didn't follow my properties playlist, which is not important because I'm going to provide you now information. And the information which I'm going to share with you today, it is once that we get the child of a container, then we get its properties as well. I mean the properties of that container, of that child of that container. In other words, let me first compile and run the program, just because I want to show you something. We have here a window which has a grid with a button inside it, and the child of the button is the GTK label. And maybe you are asking yourself, how many properties can I apply to that label widget, which is the child of the button, and which one are they, isn't it? So for this, because we found out the GTK label is the child of the button, now the way how the program looks like, I made a little bit some changes from the last video. Here we have a window, we put a grid inside it, we have a button, and we are getting the child of the button. Right here we are pointing the GetBin to the GetChild, and we are passing the button. And once that we pass in, basically we have its name, so we know it is about the GTK label. And because we know it is about the GTK label, then we know that GTKBin is now equal to GTK label, isn't it? So because it's working, you can even check if GTK is label. You see, I'm going to check GetBin. Let's print gprint true, whatever, true. Let me compile it and run it. As you can see, it says true, which means works fine, because if I'm now passing the window here in the GTK's label instead of GetBin, as you can see, we had nothing, doesn't report anything, so which means it's true. So now, because we have the label and it's working, we can print its properties. So we are going to say now, basically here, now we are going to use a function right here, and let's use the list object properties. And here, of course, we need to provide the object which are interesting. And now let us declare and define the function GTK list object properties, because this is what we need. And of course we need the G object. We don't know which object is, we don't care about it. And now we can basically retrieve those properties which we are interested in. So for this we need a gparam spec, and let's call it list properties. And of course we need the guint and properties, okay. And once that we have it, now we need to point the list property to the G object class list properties, where we pass our list property, and of course the end property with its address as well. Once that we have it, now we can basically print those properties which we found out. So we are going to use a for loop for this. For guint, let's say I is equal to 0 and I is less than n properties, I++, and now we are here inside, and here inside we can say const g char const, and then we give it a name, prop name, for example, and of course we need the g aram spec get name, where we are going to pass, of course, what? The list prop I. Now that we have it, we can print it. So g print, let's say property, and you know what? Let me create a count flag as well. So g count equal to 0. We'll pass it 1. And now let's say property %u and the property name, which of course we have it, and we are going to print it right now, and we need the count plus plus. Now let's see if everything is okay. We need the GObject class list properties function. For this we need the list, gparameter list, which we need to provide for this function, because without it it's not working. And of course I made a mistake because the thing here which I need to, sorry guys, it's object, it's the GObject which we need it, but in this case we don't, we need a class, GObject get class. We need a GObject get class of the object here, not the list. Sorry, I already made a mistake. It's good to check again. So the GObject get class list needs to argument. The first one is the object class of the object, and the second as the number of the properties which we get it, and all those of them we are going to store them in a double linker list. You see, I made another mistake right here, because this function returns gparameter spec double pointer, yes, and we are saving it on the list. Once that we have it, then we can iterate with a for loop, which is I numbers less than and properties, and then with the help of gparameter spec get name, we are getting the list property 0, 1, 2, and so on, and basically we are getting its name. We are saving it in the prop name pointer, and then we are printing it together with the count, which is right here right now. So if everything is fine, and it's not, because okay, I forgot there is no June or whatever I was writing right there, and now it should work fine. And yes, it works fine. Let's see. So the child is the GTK label. We know that because we have the child of the button, and the, you know what, let me make some changes. Let me do something more interesting. The child of %s is, and here I'm going to say GTK widget get name, and I'm going to pass the button to be much more interesting, and I'm going to use a tab also here to look much better now. And now we will have the child of the watch. I'm going to close this one. The child of the GTK button is GTK label, and the properties which we can provide, you see, we have now all those properties available for our label. So basically, if you want to set some properties for the label child of the button directly, then this is the way how you do it. You get the child of the button, and once that you have that child, you can then make those changes to the property. So just to be sure that it's working. And let's see what happens if we set the sensitive of the property, because we have the GetBin is the label itself, isn't it? We can do GObject set GetBin, which is the label, sensitive, set it to false, informing the function that we are done with it by passing null, compile it and run it. and now we basically destroyed, isn't it, our label is not there. So this means we set it to false, setting back to true. I think I saw a select table. Yes, select table. Okay, let me use this one as well. Okay, select table and true. I think we need to pass true. Nope, it doesn't make some change, or at least I need to check the property. Whatever. I was only interested that it's working and it works. So if I change it now to margin, let's say whatever, 50 pixels, how big it would be? You see how big is the button now? Because our label got this margin, this big margin right here, left, top, right, bottom. So this is the way how you set information, or let's say set properties for a child of an object. Like in our case, we are just playing with the GTK bin by getting its child of the button. Once that we got the button's child, which is the GTK label, and we save it in the GTKBin widget, we know that GTKBin now is a GTK label, and because we have this, we can print its properties, and of course because we know which properties has, we can now play with the label by calling GTK object set and set its properties to desired values. That being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.